Hey, who's got economic development? Mike?
Yes.
What's the other one?
They're both planning and zoning.
All right, we'll have
Porch.
John read them both. John, you're gonna have to read the names then, because Malia was assigned to him. Or do you want, hey, Mike, do you wanna take, are you economic? Item, the watermelon, and then evening. We are going to begin our meeting. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Certainly. Trustee Arnett. Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee Holder. Trustee Kotinek.
Here.
Trustee Kukler.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
Here.
President Livingston.
Here, we do have a quorum. Mr. Clerk, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Going to give a report here for a few minutes. First, I want to talk about the Hansen versus LaGrange lawsuit. We have received a written proposal from Hansen in an attempt to settle our dispute. The village has worked through the weekend to offer a counter proposal aimed at constructing the project for storm water management. So ball is over on Hansen's side, and so we await that. This, as a reminder, is the focus of a north pipe connection between the village of LaGrange around the north side of the quarry into stormwater facilities in McCook. We do have another court appointment to report back to the judge, and we'll at that time really try to focus on resolution this fall so we can know either way what the status of our forward motion is on this project. It is a very high priority. The board and we communicate on it frequently, and again worked to get a response back to Hansen, and we will await their response with earnestness. I want to thank Chief Gay, you and your team, and the LaGrange Fire Department for an excellent opportunity for residents to learn about the fire department at our open house over this past weekend. There was an obvious amount of advanced planning that took place, a lot of engagement, a lot of booths through the firehouse in terms of different community organizations. That was really much appreciated. So if you could pass the board's thanks on to the team. A reminder, Halloween walk, Skeletober in LaGrange. That is an invitation to everybody to join local businesses for the Halloween walk around the downtown on Saturday, October 27th. The trick or treat parade will be held by local businesses beginning at 10 a.m. from Cossett School and continuing to noon. And many other events are also planned through the LaGrange Business Association. So please do visit their website or their Facebook, lgba.com. And then we gave the Hansen update. So I believe that is all I have, and would turn it over to you, Andre, for the manager's report.
Excuse me, thank you very much. The village has joined other communities in the region to express concerns and receive additional information regarding air quality reports involving the Sterigenics facilities in Willowbrook. The village has also received written information from Sterigenics as well as state and federal agencies regarding emissions testing and data collection. The village has and will continue to be in regular contact with our state legislators and the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency regarding this matter. In addition to information posted on the village's website, both the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency have websites providing information about Sterigenics and additional resident resources. According to state and federal environmental agencies, there is no immediate health threat to the village. The village will continue to work closely with all parties to safeguard against long-term exposures to our residents. Also, the police department, in cooperation with the Lyons Township Area Communications Center, announces a new online overnight visitor parking registration system for residents. Residents can now request overnight parking through an online public portal. Requests are also still processed via telephone by calling the police department's non-emergency number at 708-579-2333 and selecting option 1. For more information, including a link to this new feature, please visit the village's website at villageoflagrange.com. And finally, the Drug Enforcement Administration is coordinating a national effort to collect unwanted, unused, and expired medications on Saturday, October 27th from 10 to 2 p.m. The LaGrange Police Department, located at 304 West Burlington, is a regional drop-off facility for that event. The LaGrange Police Department also has a permanent drug disposal box in its lobby that can be used at any time. For more information, please also visit the village's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. And we had posted for closed session this evening as a just in case, but to the board, we've been in communications with each other on matters that we'd need to discuss in closed session this evening, so we're not planning on going into that this evening. Mr. Clerk, if you could please read the items on the consent agenda.
Certainly. Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have been already considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Item A, resolution authorizing an amendment to an emergency mutual aid agreement, Police Department. Item B, material purchase, Public Works, fiscal year 2018/19 tree planting program. A resolution for Public Works Suburban Tree Consortium. Item C, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting, Monday, September 24, 2018. Item D, consolidated voucher 181008.
Great. And John?
Ordinance, a zoning code text amendment and special use for an indoor children's play area, parenthetically Watermelon, at 25 South LaGrange Road, Paul Makowski. And item B, ordinance, variation front yard for porch, Jill and Bill Nelson, 429 South Park.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. And with that, item number 4 on our agenda this evening are public comments regarding matters that are on our agenda this evening. Very good. With that, item 5, consideration of our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Kotinek. Trustee Kukler. It's been moved and seconded. Comments on the consent agenda or questions? Trustee McCarty.
Thank you, President Livingston. Just a couple of quick questions, comments, kind of things regarding the tree planting. I noticed that we're down significantly on the number of ash trees being cut down. Are we done? Have we completed our ash removal? Yeah. All right. And I also was surprised to see that we're still cutting down some elm trees. We still have some elm trees in LaGrange? I think that's a proud statement, right?
We do have a number of elm trees. I don't have the statistic with me in terms of the exact quantity, but as the number that are susceptible to Dutch elm disease goes down, we're replanting them with a more diverse population, and there are some hybrid elms that we're planting in their place.
Great. And then I guess this would be a good time to explain our tree planting regulations, rules and regulations. Can a resident choose the tree they want in their parkway? And if so, how do they do that?
Sure. So residents can choose the species of tree in their parkway. Generally, when the tree is removed, we send a letter out to residents letting them know that they'll have an opportunity to pick the tree. And then when they express their interest in picking the tree, we send them a letter letting them know the number or the trees that are on the list that they can choose from. This year, I think that there's a total of 15 trees that they can pick from. Generally, most popular are usually the maple trees. However, though, we encourage residents to look at other trees that they might not be familiar with in order to add to the diversification.
Great. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. Other questions or comments on the motion for the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee Gale,
Aye.
Trustee McCarty,
Aye.
Trustee Kukler,
Aye.
Trustee Kotinik.
Aye.
With that, the motion passes. Item number 6, current business. Item A, ordinance. Zoning code text amendment and special use for an indoor children's play area, Watermelon at 25 South LaGrange Road. Paul Makowski. And we had printed as a referral to Trustee Arnett. She wasn't able to make it this evening. And so we have asked Trustee Kotinik to help us out here. Trustee Kotinik?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. Happy to present the ordinance for a zoning code text amendment. The petitioner, Paul Makowski, is a tenant of the retail space at 25 South LaGrange Road. The petitioner is requesting a text amendment to the zoning code and a special use permit. The petitioner is requesting the text amendment to add children's indoor recreation under parental guidance supervision as a special use in the C1 Central Commercial Business District. Children's indoor recreation is an entertainment activity for children 12 years or younger in which the children make use of an indoor recreation equipment such as slides, tunnels, ladders, and educational games. The petitioner is also seeking approval of a special use permit to operate a children's indoor recreational business with a retail shop. The proposed use includes a retail area, the full width of the subject property, to an average depth of at least 25 feet from the storefront windows. The proposed use also incorporates a seating area with the sale of food. The indoor recreation area is proposed in the rear of the building. Visitors to the facility may either pay a one-time visit or buy a membership pass entitling them to multiple visits. The facility would be available for private party rental on weekends. The petitioner has indicated he will be seeking a Class H, which is a BYOB liquor license from the village, to allow customers to provide beer and wine for private party rental. The petitioner also plans to seek a liquor license to allow Waterlemon to include beer and wine at quarterly events to promote brand loyalty and showcase new retail items and our programming for the recreation space. The Liquor Commission will review the petitioner's liquor licensing requests separately at a separate date. On September 11th, 2018, the Plan Commission held a public hearing on this matter. At the hearing, the petitioner provided information on the proposed text amendment and special use. The petitioner also discussed the rental of the indoor play area equipment for private special events. One member of the public did speak in favor of the applicant. The Plan Commission found that the proposed text amendment was consistent with the existing permitted and special uses in the C1 Central District. The inclusion of a 25-foot deep retail area is consistent with the recently approved text amendments for service uses in the C1 Central Commercial District. Although the indoor recreation area is not retail in nature, the Plan Commission did find that it would provide a unique commercial experience that would positively add to the downtown while still incorporating retail sales. The Plan Commission did vote unanimously 6-0 to recommend the approval of the proposed application with one condition related to the text amendment, and that would be to require minimum spacing between the children's recreation establishments, and 3 conditions related to the special use, including items related to noise control, private party rental, and pickoff and drop-off protocols. The petitioner has revised the plans to comply with the conditions of the Plan Commission. The staff and the village attorney have prepared an ordinance pursuant to the direction of the Plan Commission with these additional safeguards added to ensure private event rental is limited to children's indoor recreational use and does not infringe on the proposed retail operations. If the village board concurs with the recommendation, then I would like to propose a motion to approve this ordinance as I have just described.
Thank you, Trustee Katina.
I'll second.
Trustee Gale, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Questions, comments on this ordinance motion? And we have people here that are involved with this. Maybe just introduce yourselves if you go to the mic, if it's not too much trouble there. The handoff.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'll keep it short and sweet. My name is Nina Makovsky. This is my husband, Paul, and our daughter, Vivian, and I just wanted to thank everybody for their time and consideration. I just want to say that I grew up in LaGrange Park and have really fond memories of frequenting the businesses along LaGrange Road. Past his health food store that my father used to take us into when we were kids, the Hallmark store, the LaGrange Theater. I graduated from Lyons Township, and I love this town, so much so that I left California after 15 years to move back and raise my daughter here as of last year, and haven't looked back since. So we're very excited about the idea of possibly becoming part of the fabric of the business community in LaGrange, and look forward to having a business that helps other young children and families create positive memories for the future.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. First reference to Passes Health Foods I've heard in a while. Questions? Trustee Kukler.
I just wanted to thank you and welcome you back to LaGrange, and thank you for your investment. I think a lot of people in the community will be excited to have you.
Thank you, Trustee. Other questions or comments? Trustee McCarty.
Thank you, President Livingston. And I know sometimes our zoning code in its simplicity makes it a little more difficult, in the fact that things must be specifically included or they are not allowed. I'm curious on this mix and why we end up with this. When is it a retail and when does it become restaurant? Are there percentages? How do you define whether this should be retail, restaurant, or children's play?
If you flip to page 6-A.15, the ordinance approving the special use and text amendment includes a general layout of the subject property, which shows the area of the play space, the indoor recreation, the cafe, seating area, which will also be the place where the kids will take off their shoes and get ready to enter the play space, and then the retail component.
But it's more a procedural or a question on how do you, where do we draw the line on is this a retail space and these are accessory to it? Or is it a restaurant and those are accessory? What's the leading and lagging? Or, as the zoning expert, I'm sorry to admit I don't know what the heck I'm talking about here.
Oh, we're surrounded by zoning experts. It is predominantly this concept of a children's indoor recreational area. Because this is in the C1 district, which is meant for retail sales and income, retail sales tax generation, the village has a provision that a place like this, an establishment like this, needs to have a retail component. You've seen it in other approvals that the village has made over the years, and that explains the front of the store being retail oriented. The in-between space is really just sort of a transitional space that is committed to the children's indoor recreation area, but it includes a place, also a cafe, simply as an adjunct to the use. And so the village determines that element of the facility simply to be ancillary to the overall use.
Okay. So, and is that the play is the dominant thing just because of square footage, or because that's where they think the most revenue is going to come from?
That's what they wanted.
So their determination was that they wanted it as a play
It was their
place.
determination, yes.
And because it's being included in the zoning ordinance as a special use, any other indoor children's recreation facility would come with their specific proposal that would be evaluated by the Plan Commission.
It's similar to what we do with workout places, right?
Correct.
They're all special uses, so, and a special use dies with the business, correct?
Yes.
And what about restaurants? Is there a level, a size that it has to be to become a restaurant? Does it have to have a kitchen? And where I'm leading to with this is you can only have a liquor license with a restaurant, correct?
No, that's not correct. You can have liquor licenses under many different situations. They have not applied for a license here yet, at least. The standard of a restaurant would be a full service eatery, and this concept is not that.
Okay. And so the liquor license portion of it is considered completely separately? correct?
Entirely separate.
And even though it is mentioned in their application, that has no bearing on what we're voting on now?
Correct. They have the opportunity to have applied for a liquor license at any time they wanted to, and we assume that if they want one, they'll seek it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. Trustee Katina.
Thanks. So along the lines of the liquor license, the Class H, so the way I understand it, it would be for special events or evening hours. And I know we'll address that at the Liquor Commission at a future time, but how would you envision that being handled during what I'll call business hours when, parents are there with their kids?
Who wants to take that one? Nina?
The truth of the matter is, quite frankly, when we started the business proposal, it was never really part of our business plan to have an element of liquor. I think that, quite frankly, upon hearing it at first glance, is probably kind of strange to wrap one's head around. You've got an indoor kids play space. Why do you want to have booze? But after we started talking with some of our peers in the community, it was brought to our attention that it might be something that we may want to offer to parents on weekends when they are renting the space for their children's either birthday parties or bridal showers, that if the moms wanted to bring mimosas or a bottle of wine, that they should be possibly allowed to do that. So we thought, bring it up, and if it is passed, then great, but quite frankly, it's not something that Paul or I feel is going to make or break our business on any level. I think that the business plan that we have between the retail, the cafe, and the indoor play space is going to do just fine, whether or not we have that additional beer and wine option for our guests.
And I think specifically the H license was for us to have our own mixers. So if we wanted to hold an event, I believe the H license allows us 4 events a year just as a business, whether it's like the Halloween walk or events like that, where we're able to make it more of a marketing event for the store, show new inventory, because the items that we bring into that we curate for the retail portion are going to be seasonal, and so 4 times a year is perfect for us. Every 3 months we would hold a mixer for the parents of not just LaGrange but the surrounding communities to sort of come in and enjoy the store and then participate in the play area at later dates. So it's more of a marketing thing for us to be able to have those 4 events a year.
Great, thank you. As you mentioned, the first time I read through this, the two didn't really seem to jive
Right.
together, but I understand what you're doing, so thank you.
Yeah, and there would be no BYO during normal business hours.
No.
Where people just stand around with a beer.
Strictly for those weekend
It would
events.
strictly be for private parties where you and your family are celebrating something and want to bring wine or something.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Katina. Trustee Kugler?
If you guys could, I have another question, and it relates to parking. Have you looked at parking? And I'm just envisioning, I assume sometimes parents will be dropping off a child, maybe just parking quickly, running in, depending on how it all works, and whether or not you've looked at different times during the day, how long people will be parking. Do you need 15-minute parking? How's that? And if you've looked at it at all.
Well, one of the things that came up on the 9/11 meeting was that very thing. And one of the things that we said that we would be willing to do in the interest of trying to prevent people from stopping on LaGrange Road in front of 25 South and dropping off their children would be to, when they sign up to play or have a membership, there would be something within the release, I guess, that they're signing that would say there are no drop-off, you are not allowed to drop off or double park in front of the business. By signing this waiver, you acknowledge that that's, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know what the exact wording would be, but that it is not allowed. So hopefully that, in addition to our employees telling our guests that they should not do that when they come to the store, will hopefully curtail that from happening on a regular basis. And the only other thing that I would mention is, because our store and indoor play space really is geared more towards children 5 years and younger, they're so young that we don't imagine that there'll be an issue with parents dropping them off. I mean, I certainly wouldn't drop off a 2 or 3-year-old to go park the car, which is, again, what we're imagining is going to be primarily the sort of age group that we'll be hosting.
Additionally, we were planning on putting all that information on our website as well, along with our store hours. It would say, like, not to double park, along with instructions on how to handle events. So if we were having a birthday party, you mentioned what hours and what does that all look like. We're doing parties in like 3-hour increments approximately on Saturdays and Sundays, and so we would have a general idea of when people would be dropping kids off, and we would instruct them to come in through the back alley where we have a back entrance, have one of the store associates help the mom or dad unload the kids and bring them in through the back potentially as a solution to not double parking in the street or anything like that.
And we also have a parking spot allowed that comes with our space, which could be a place where parents could park to unload and then load up after the party.
Right, that's what I was going to suggest. I know a lot of the businesses, when the bike store was there, a lot of the traffic came in off the alley. And if you designed that door with appropriate lighting and signage,
Right.
you really could emphasize using that as a drop-off or whatever.
Yes.
So that'd be a recommendation.
Thank you, Trustee Kukler. Other questions on the motion, on the ordinance? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Kukler.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Kotinik.
Aye.
And with that, the motion passes, and Nina and Paul, congratulations. We want to do everything we can as a board in our power to help you. We're really pleased that you've invested in us. It's something that we know is, you can go a lot of different places. You've chosen here, and we don't take that for granted. So we really do appreciate it. You had a great proposal. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Thanks.
Item B, ordinance variation, front yard for porch. Jill and Bill Nelson, 429 South Park Road. We've asked Trustee Kukler to pinch hit here. Trustee Kukler, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd be happy to introduce the ordinance for a variation front yard for porch requested by Jill and Bill Nelson. The address is 429 South Park Road. The petitioners, Jill and Bill Nelson, own the property, and they wish to construct an 8-foot deep front porch that would encroach into the required front yard of the subject property. They previously applied for a variation for this 8-foot deep porch, but they only asked to go 32.5 feet across the front of the house. They've now amended the application after that was passed to request a front porch that's 8 feet deep but extends 35 feet across the front of the house. Per section 3-110-C-1 of the zoning code, front porches are required to observe a 35-foot front yard. Although the previously approved porch and currently proposed porch both result in only a 23.38 front yard, Ordinance 0.18.03 approved the previously proposed smaller porch, and therefore the new proposed larger porch must have been or was re-reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals and now comes before the Village Board. The proposed 35-foot porch does not encroach into the required interior side yards. On September 20th, 2018, the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on this matter. At the hearing, the applicants presented testimony regarding the proposed porch designs change to accommodate a porch swing. No neighboring property owners spoke regarding the proposed porch. The Zoning Board of Appeals found that the proposed increase in the length of the porch did not change their findings from the previous variation request. A motion to recommend the approval of the application to allow construction of an 8-foot by 35-foot front porch passed by a vote of 5-0. Accordingly, I move to approve an ordinance granting a zoning variation for construction of a front porch at 429 South Park Road.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Kukler. Trustee Katina. It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments on the motion, the ordinance? Trustee McCarty.
I didn't approve of this when it came through the first time. I don't approve of it now. Not only first we established that a party is a hardship, not being able to have a party on your front porch is a hardship, but now we're saying not having a front porch swing is a hardship. I find this incredibly inconsistent and incredibly irresponsible by the Zoning Board of Appeals. I find that this is the very thing that we need to be on the watch for. It also, a little better planning on the part of the architect makes a big difference. That being said, I understand that if I don't vote for this, it fails. And for that reason and that reason alone, I will support it.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. Trustee Kukler.
I'll just a little bit echo Trustee McCarty's comments and really to the Zoning Commission. I was walking through LaGrange the other day, and I noticed some houses that are just seem to be really close to the front walk. I do think we need, as a community, to be careful of that. Since this passed once, though, in this extension, I don't think changes that concern at all. I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Trustee Kukler. Other questions or comments? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Katina.
Aye.
Trustee Kukler.
Aye.
With that, the ordinance is passed. Item number 7, public comments regarding matters not on our agenda this evening. With that, we move to item number 8, trustee comments. Trustee Kukler.
I just wanted to follow up with what President Livingston said earlier about the fire department open house. I heard great things about it. A lot of the neighbors with young children really enjoyed it, found it both fun and educational. So thanks a lot, Chief.
Kukler. Other comments? Trustee McCarty.
Thank you, President Livingston. Just a quick shout out to our police and our police department and the LTAC for this new high-tech being able to call in your car via the internet. That's a great idea. And I think sometimes we forget the great advantages that happened when we built this new facility, and that makes a difference. It's a small thing, but I can never remember the phone number, but I can always just click it and have it taken care of. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee McCarty. Other questions or comments? Trustee comments this evening? Seeing none, we have no items for closed session. Item 10, seeking a motion to adjourn.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 No opposed. We are adjourned until October 22nd at 7:30. Thank you.